ICE agents are facing a wave of violent attacks across the country, while Democrats seem more interested in stoking outrage than calming things down. Federal authorities just nabbed over 350 illegal immigrants during a massive operation at a California pot farm. Some had rap sheets for crimes such as attempted child molestation and kidnapping. Agents had rocks thrown at their vehicles, roads blocked by protesters, and one suspect appears to have fired a gun at them. Meanwhile, some Democratic lawmakers were getting a tour of the Alligator Alcatraz detention center in Florida. They are alleging poor conditions at the facility, but DHS refutes that. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she went there, and she seemed upset with lots of things, including the plumbing.
They are essentially packed into cages, wall-to-wall humans, 32 detainees per cage. There are 3 tiny toilets that are toilet units that have a sink attached to it. So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water and they brush their teeth where they poop in the same unit.
And even Trump's border czar couldn't escape the heat. Tom Homan got heckled at a conservative conference this weekend, but he quickly deported the drama with this quick comeback.
Wait 3 or 5 years. Pardon me?
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. Bring it. Bring it. They got morons like this all over the country. This guy wouldn't notice, like the surface nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls to be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement. Get out of here, you loser.
I need more of that in my confidence basket. I don't necessarily have it. What do you think about how it all went down this weekend?
There's a word, onomatopoeia, which is phonetically describes a word, describes the sound something makes, like oink or meow or roar. You hear them often on The View. We need to invent a word for a person who physically resembles his occupation. I think it's called a Homan. Because like Homan's face is like the opposite of a welcome mat. You see that face and you're going, I'm not sticking around in this country. When you look at Wasserman Schultz, she is doing the work by amplifying the conditions of Alligator Alcatraz. She's saying, oh my God, this sucks. And we're going, thank you, Debbie. That's the message we need to get out. Because like the images of the roundups, Alligator Alcatraz, Homan himself, it incentivizes people not to wait around. Biden incentivized mass deportation, and now we're doing the opposite. I was thinking about this weekend, because I do a lot of thinking when I'm alone.
Yeah, you do.
Remember how for the left it was always about exploitation? Like capitalism exploits the poor.
Yeah.
That was always a thing. Now suddenly exploitation is they're doing the jobs we don't want to do. You know, and it's like, well, and because they're illegal, you get the added benefit that the fact that they're doing it cheaply. So it's no longer exploitation. It's that, wow, they're just here for us doing cheap work. And it's like, you know, you can use that argument for sex trafficking. Like they are doing this work because they have to survive. They're doing the jobs cheaply that nobody else would want to do. That describes people working at pot farms and doing sex work in Queens. So whenever you say that, you know, these people just want to earn the living, remember that you're directly benefiting awful people who exploit them, which is why you need legal immigration.
One of the things that happened last week is that Gavin Newsom soft-launched his presidential campaign.
He did?
And that was this, yes, when he was in South Carolina.
Oh, right.
And he went on this tirade to defend a campaign donor's illegal pot farm at the same time. It's like, it makes it pretty easy for you.
At first, we thought it was the illegal class that was protesting it getting raided, and then we just thought it was stoners who didn't want the cannabis farm to go bye-bye. But you remember the Democratic Party, Dana, we used to be for the working class, for labor goals and work-safe conditions. They have 14-year-olds picking crops next to pedophiles at this cannabis farm. And so they shut it down, and the Democrat response is put the 14-year-old illegal aliens back to work at the farm. It's pretty bad. Now, Greg was doing a lot of thinking this weekend.
I was.
I wasn't? I was doing a lot of feeling. and I was feeling pretty good. And I had a feeling that the Democrats were going to take the bait on Alligator Alcatraz. It was just too juicy to resist. You now have the only people complaining about conditions, the bad hombres and defense attorney Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And she must have a palatial estate, because how many paces from her toilet to where she brushes her teeth does she live? Everybody brushes their teeth near the toilet, all right? Billionaires and people at Alligator Alcatraz. She's saying they're cages. Now, what's the difference between a cage and a fence, okay? There's no difference. You're having fences to keep people from escaping, because, I don't know, this guy's there, his name's Oscar Satan Sanchez. He's MS-13, wanted for murder. When the guy's nickname is Satan, you want him in a cage or a fence or whatever you call it. Does she want condos with central air? Or does she want us to build brick housing units for these people? Then they'll be accused of baking the migrants.
Right. So during the Biden administration, during those years, they were sued over the conditions that the minors, the illegal immigrant minors, were in, right? They were eating bloody chicken. They were urinating in plastic bags. They were on suicide watch, cutting themselves with their ID cards. And she was radio silent the entire time. In fact, what I heard from her in March of 2023 was saying to the world that fentanyl was actually being trafficked through legal ports of entry by Americans. And then she went on to criticize Governor DeSantis's legislation proposed that would impose stricter penalties on human traffickers, because she said, in the typical racist tropes of the Democrat Party, she said, you're going to have vegetables rotting in the fields. You're going to have construction sites that will lie dormant. Tourism and the restaurant industry in particular rely on these workers. To Greg's point, instead of lifting up those workers and saying, look, cheap labor should not be part and parcel to the fabric of our society. In fact, it's morally wrong. And here, let me propose legislation to get these guys actually accurate pay and all the things. None of that. So now she says, you brush your teeth where you go to the bathroom. Same thing. I don't know I don't know. I've never been to a billionaire's house that has separate from that. So welcome to the USA. And it reminds me of a case I worked on in California, where an inmate who liked to have sex with babies, which was why he was incarcerated, complained about his hip and wanted special accommodations for the hip pain. And here's all the things that I need. And all of us sitting there listening to him essentially said, you know what? I can't muster up even one care right now. And if I did, that care would be reserved for homeless veterans or military service people who are living in moldy conditions, or maybe the victims of these illegal immigrants who didn't even get a shot at life. So save it, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, because I think there's a lot more cares that Americans have before they start caring about her talking about brushing your teeth where they poop right now.
Nab. The police nabbed the suspect last night. Heckle. The speaker was heckled by protesters during the event. Resemble. She resembles her mother in many ways. Roundup. The police conducted a roundup of illegal immigrants. Exploitation. Workers protested against the exploitation by their employer. Tirade. He went on a tirade about the poor working conditions. Palatial. They live in a palatial mansion overlooking the ocean. Trope. The movie is full of typical action tropes. Lie dormant. The volcano has lain dormant for centuries. Part and parcel. Stress is part and parcel of modern life. Muster up. She couldn't muster up the courage to speak in public.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.